a lot of times in life, most of the time in life, unfortunately, when our parents raise us, they instill that sense of that we owe them something, that we owe to take care of them, owe it to help them, owe it to do whatever they want us to do and live our lives the way they want us to live our lives, which I think is extremely unfair, unproductive, unhealthy, and borderline destructive for your life. Now I'm going to talk about 5 reasons why I believe that it's a very, very negative thing to think that we owe something to our parents in this life. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Purpose Over Pleasure with your host, Alex Payne. And today we're going to talk about a very, very touchy subject. But before I jump into this touchy subject, I want to ask you guys a question. My question is this: do you feel like you owe something to your parents? Whether you feel like you do or you don't, it's up to you. I'm not the one to judge. But you may want to check out this episode because I'm going to give you some pointers that will make your life happier, better, and it'll help you establish some boundaries. Let's jump right into it. I want to start this episode with a quick story. And the story is this. I had a situation with my family recently where, let's say, long story short, my sister wanted to do remodeling for a while, for some time now. And I was telling her this might not be the best time to start remodeling. That was maybe going back 6 months ago. And I told her, this might not be a good time to start remodeling your house because things are expensive. We're leading to recession, sort of in and out. It was right before the elections. Bottom line is, I said, I don't think it's a good idea to start remodeling. She decides to do it her way, starts remodeling. In the middle of remodeling, she runs out of money. So guess what? I get a call from my mother. The first call was like, hey, we're short of money, but we already have workers coming in. We need to get it done. I said, okay, I'll see what I can do. Most likely things are tight right now. I'm invested into business. Don't count on me. And then one of the days, few days later, she calls me and she tells me, well, you know what? You got to help your sister. Like, sort of in a way that you're obligated to help us. And I got really frustrated. And I told her, I'm going to talk to you about this tomorrow, not right now. So the next day comes and I had a really interesting conversation with my mother. And I had to set some boundaries straight. And I had to tell her that, listen, I love you guys. Mom, I love you. Everything I have in this life is, thanks to you and my sister and God Almighty. But at this point in my life, I'm going to have to tell you no. And my sister, your daughter, has to figure it out on her own. My money is tied into the business, investments, moves, and I have to set myself up for success so that I can help you guys in the future take care of myself and the ones that I love. So I'm sorry, but I don't owe you anything. I don't owe anybody anything. I got to take care of my family and myself first, set myself up for success first, so I can help you guys later. And unfortunately, I said no. The reason why I'm sharing the story with you is to show you that a lot of times in life, most of the time in life, unfortunately, when our parents raise us, they instill that sense of that we owe them something, that we owe to take care of them, owe it to help them, owe it to do whatever they want us to do and live our lives the way they want us to live our lives, which I think is extremely unfair, unproductive, unhealthy, and borderline destructive for your life. Now I'm going to talk about 5 reasons why I believe that it's a very, very negative thing to think that we owe something to our parents in this life. Number one, if you feel like you owe something to your parents in this life, well, guess what? You have a complete loss of autonomy over your life. You basically relinquish your own control of your own life. Because when you feel obligated, okay, you lose a sense of control over your life. You lose a sense that you have the reins, you have the pen with which you rewrite your life. And that is very bad because that leads directly to resentment and frustration. When you have a feeling that you lose control of your life, you start building resentment towards that person, especially if you cannot tell that person no, especially if you start being a nice guy or a nice girl and you don't establish strong, effective boundaries. And over time, that resentment builds up, that frustration builds up, and boom, one day it's going to spill out into aggression, argument, unhealthy habits, unhealthy behavior, and sometimes even things like mental breakdowns and suicide. So, not losing control of your life, not losing the autonomy over your life, not feeling like you're obligated to take care of your parents, your mom, your dad, your family, will give you the sense of having control of your life. Now, don't get me wrong. I am here today sitting in front of you guys because of my mom. And I'll be honest. This woman, not only did she adopt me, not only did she give up her job and her career, not only did she raise me, not only did she sleep next to my bed when I was in coma multiple times for days, not only did she bring me to this country, gave me this life, gave me unconditional love, and the list goes on. My mother is probably the only person who gave me unconditional fucking love and support in this life, growing up in a tougher environment that I grew up in. Through with physical abuse, with domestic violence, with drugs, alcohol, divorces, etc., etc., etc. She is the number one reason, after God Almighty Himself, that I am here today talking to you, that I am kind, that I am ambitious, that I am loving, that I am caring. But don't get it twisted. I don't think I owe anything to her, and I'll tell you why. And I say this with a grain of salt. Let me explain to you why. If you're a parent and you raise your children with emotion in them that they owe you something in life, well, guess what? They will grow up feeling obligated to take care of you. They will do things for you because they feel like they're obligated. That means they're going to do things half-ass. They're going to do things when they're not in the mood, when they don't feel like doing it, and do it just to put a check mark. And that fucking sucks. Me personally, I would hate to have a child or anybody in my environment who does things for me because they feel obligated to do so. I want people to do things for me because they want to do it, out of the goodness of their heart, because they care for me, because they love me. And same thing goes for my mother. I love her to death. She raised me, adopted me, brought me here, gave me a start in this life. To this day, she constantly supports me. So when I give back to her, when I take care of her, when I go see her, when I spend time with her, I do it because I want to, because I love my mother unconditionally. I will die for her, okay? But I don't do it because I feel like I owe her. And that's the difference. That is the key difference between feeling like you're obligated to do something and doing things for your loved ones, for your parents, for your mom and your dad, out of the goodness of your heart, because you do genuinely care for them and you love them. That will go a long way if you start really dissecting a situation and understanding, why am I feeling this way? Do I feel like I'm obligated, or because I want to do it for somebody? Thing number 2, stress and anxiety. Oh, those are important. I've seen this with myself. I see it with my wife. I see it with my friends. When you feel obligated to do things for others, especially for your parents, that creates enormous amount of stress and anxiety in your life, because it's constant pressure to meet somebody else's expectations. Okay? Always. You always feel like you have to meet their expectations. That creates stress. That creates emotional burnout. That creates irritability. That also creates frustration. I mean, it's like living your life walking on eggshells. What if that person is constantly unhappy? What if your mom or your dad are constantly unhappy, unsatisfied, or just a bitter human being, and no matter what the fuck you do for them for the rest of your life, it's not enough for them? As a result, you'll be stressed out, you'll have anxiety, you'll feel constant pressure on your shoulders like a ticking time bomb for you. So no, make sure to get that situation under control. Make sure you really heal that inner person inside of you and understand that you want to do things for somebody because you love them, not because you feel obligated to do so. That's a key. That is the key to a healthy relationship and establishing good connection with the people around you that you love, but at the same time, not allowing them to push your boundaries. The next one, number 3, is fear of rejection. Boy, oh boy, I have so many clients, so many dudes out there who have this fear of rejection, and that spreads all across their environment, their parents, their loved ones, their girlfriends, their wives, whoever. Fear of rejection is always there, and that comes from loneliness. That comes from feeling like you're obligated to do something for somebody, and if you don't, guess what? They might reject you, and then you'll be lonely forever. And that sucks. That sucks. That truly does. Because feeling obligated creates feeling of rejection in case you don't do something for the person as they expect you to do it. Okay? So what do you do instead? You start practicing avoidance behavior. You start being a nice guy or a nice girl. And avoidance behavior leads to arguments, leads to outbursts of anger, leads to depression, and the list goes on. So no, make sure you don't do something for somebody out of fear of being rejected. That is a horrible way of doing things for people. The nice guy syndrome is all about that. I always advise the guys that I coach, there's a few books that I have to read if they're in my coaching program. Number one, and I advise you guys to write this book down. Number one is Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. That book is fantastic. I think every adult needs to read that book. That book gives you the baseline understanding of why you are the way you are, why your parents are the way you are, why your siblings are the way you are, and explains the whole dynamic and why you became the person that you are. It's a must-read book. The second book that I advise all the guys to read is No More Mr. Nice Guy. I think I have it somewhere right here. No More Mr. Nice Guy. Read that book. And in that book, it talks clearly about fear of rejection. A lot of times, nice guys do things for women because they feel they're going to be rejected if they don't. And that sucks. That sucks. You become a puppet. You become a pussy, excuse my language, whip type of person, type of guy. That's horrible. That's not what men's supposed to be like. So understand that you're not obligated to do anything for anybody. But if you want to do things for somebody, especially your parents and your loved ones, you do it out of the goodness of your heart. And hopefully your parents raised you to be a good, kind person who understands that, hey, I need to give back. I need to give back to my parents, my family, my loved ones, and people around me. That is the difference. Not feeling like you owe somebody, but wanting to do it for them out of goodness of your heart. Thing number 4. This is a big one, okay? Difficulty setting boundaries. The hardest boundaries to set are with your family, your loved ones. I fought that battle for over a decade, and I still sometimes have to remind my family in a kind and polite way, hey, guys, understand that I love you. I came from you. You gave me a lot in this life, but I now have my own family that I have to raise, provide for, protect, and provide for, that unfortunately I have to focus on that. And luckily, I am blessed to have a mother who understands that. She actually instilled in me that sense when I was a really, really young age. I remember having a conversation with my mother a long time ago, maybe in my early 20s, and she said, son, understand that one day you're going to find a girl, you're going to marry her, and that woman will replace me on the hierarchy of importance in your life. She will be your number one. And back then, me, I was like, hell no, mom, absolutely not. You're number one. You'll always be number one. I love you, and nothing will change. I will never put another woman before you. She's like, son, when the time will come, you will understand. And that stuck with me to this day. And now I finally understand what she meant. I am blessed and grateful to have a mother who's so wise. Despite what she's gone through in life, she's so wise. I'm blessed to have her in my life. I mean, the domestic violence she went through, my father, the alcoholism, my dad burned down the house, going to prison, her having to raise 3 children, dealing with the toxic habits of my father. Oh my God, man. And she still always gave us all unconditional love. And to this day, she's in her 70s. She always feels like she's obligated to give something to us. And that's crazy. That's crazy. But that's a different story. And I might dedicate an episode just to my mother, and I will. But going back to setting boundaries is that I understand what she meant. Now I understand what she meant. Because now, as I'm creating my own family, I have to have a balance of things in life. My mother's my mother. I love her to death, and I'll kill for her. I love my mother dearly. She is the kindest person that I know in this world. She is the unconditional source of love that was given to me, despite everything that I saw growing up. And she kept that spark of kindness in love and love inside of me. However, I understand that I have a wife now. She's going to be the mother of my children. We're going to have children one day. And I have to understand that as a mother of my children, especially one day, she's going to take a little more priority. But I'll do my best to always keep the balance in between because I love my mother dearly. And I owe a lot to her in ways that um, what she's done for me. Not in a sense that I'm obligated to do things, but because of what she's done for me. And that's why I love her and I will forever love her and I care for her dearly. And so when you have a sense of obligation to do something for somebody, especially your parents, it makes it hard to establish boundaries. What that does, and if you don't establish clear, strong boundaries, what it does is creates resentment. It creates constant resentment. You would want to avoid your parents. You would want to not talk to them. You would become resentful of their actions and what they tell you. And that's a toxic environment to live in. So having emotional maturity to have uncomfortable conversations with your parents is a must. Is a must because it will allow you to establish boundaries. It will allow you to tell them that there are certain things they should not be doing. There's certain lines they should not be crossing. There's certain things they shouldn't be doing to you and your family because those things might affect your family. And as a man, it is your duty and responsibility. Listen carefully, guys. As a man, it is your duty and responsibility to establish boundaries for your family from both sides. Both sides. And I said it, and I don't give a fuck who says what. I'm telling you right now, both sides, meaning your own family and relatives and your wife's family and relatives. Okay? Because a lot of times, women have a hard time saying no to their family and their loved ones because, they're women. They're a little more emotional. They're more empathetic. They're more loving. And, for example, my wife, her extended family, her relatives are toxic. Fuck it. I said it. And I'm going to say it again. I don't give a shit if they're watching. Guys, we're having our differences. And if you're watching this episode, don't get angry at me. But I said what I said. There's some toxicity in her side of the family. And I have to step in and I have to establish boundaries because my family comes first. My family comes first because my family is my peace, is my happiness. And in my house, we prioritize peace, love, and happiness. So every fucking day I go out that door, I put on my armor and I fight for my family, for myself, for my loved ones, for my beliefs, for my morals, for my values, for my goals. I'm willing to fucking die for what I believe in, for my family. But in my house, it's a place of love, peace, communication, and happiness. And that comes first. And I don't give a shit who it is, whether it's from my side, my relatives, or her side, her relatives. They're not allowed to break the boundaries and spill the toxicity into my family. So fellas, you got to be smart enough. You got to be wise enough. You got to be confident enough. You got to be diplomatic enough to establish these boundaries. Last but not least, this one's important. Imbalance in relationships. Okay? When you feel like you're obligated to do things for your family, for your parents, for your mom, for your dad, when you feel like you're obligated to do things, you feel like you owe them, well, guess what? It becomes a one-way relationship. It creates an imbalance in your relationship because when one person gives more than the other and the other person takes more than the first person, it creates a feeling of unappreciation. Quite simple. It creates a feeling of unappreciation and that you're being taken for granted. Because if you constantly give, guess what? The person that takes will continue to take more and more and more. It's a common factor. People who take, they don't stop. They will never stop. They're used to it. They will continue taking until you either cut them off or tell them to stop. Hopefully tell them to stop what works. If not, you're going to have to cut them off. That's the reality of life. And it hurts. I want to be honest. It fucking hurts and it sucks having to limit, edit, or even cut off the relationship with your family and your loved ones. I've done it. My wife's done it. People who I know are important to me have done it. And I hope to God you, my viewers and listeners, would do the same thing. Limit, edit, or cut off the relationship with people who are not making you better, who are draining you emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, who are not contributing to your life, to your success, who are constantly taking and taking and taking and taking from you. All those things are important because they add up and they drain you of your life energy. Cut off emotional vampires. Cut off financial vampires. Cut off the people, or at least edit the relationship with them, with the people who are not contributing to your life and making you better, but only take from you. And you will see how your life will change. Understand that your peace is so important that you must cherish it. You must cherish it and protect it at all costs. Your peace, what's inside of you, when you finally, after many, many, many years of hard work, discipline, self-work, healing, when you finally achieve peace, you will understand that you would never, ever want to give it away. Never. Peace and happiness is priceless. And it takes a while to obtain. Healing takes a while to obtain. And when you finally achieve it, you start becoming almost like greedy with it. That's what happened to me. I'm very protective of my peace. I'm very greedy of my peace and my happiness. Because that's what makes me happy. That's what gives me meaning in life. That's what allows me to go out there and fight these battles and make myself better, more successful in life, so that I can help other people around me, other people that I love and care for. Cherish your peace, protect it, work on it, heal yourself, and establish boundaries. So to recap, the 5 things, okay, that are very important, that are caused by you not having boundaries with your family, with your parents, are the following, okay? And if you're the type of person who thinks that you owe something to your parents, understand that you don't owe anything to your parents. Because if you feel like you owe something to them, you lose your own autonomy over your life. You develop stress and anxiety in enormous amounts of it. You have a fear of rejection, okay, which creates avoidance behavior. You have difficulty setting boundaries, and that becomes chronic in your life and spills all across the border with your family, in your personal life, with your friends, and all across. And it creates a complete imbalance in relationship. Those 5 things will be a result of your inability to establish certain relationships, certain boundaries with your family and with your parents. So no, don't feel like you owe anybody anything. Do things for people out of goodness of your heart. Do it for them because you love them. Do it for them because you're empathetic and you care for people and you're a kind person. But not under any circumstances, ever, do things for people, especially your parents, because you feel like you owe it to them. Guys, I hope you found this episode useful. I hope you extracted some value from it. And if you did, please like, share this episode with others who you believe might need to hear it, and stay subscribed and stay with me as I'm going through this journey of self-development still every single day, because I do this for you, because these are the things that I have to go through myself, that I've gone through myself and learn, and now I'm sharing with you. So God bless you guys. See you next time.